Dan Snyder, and he's being walked all over.
Well, that's the thing.
And Dan Snyder is taking way too much heat for this, way too much heat.
This is pathetic. This is pathetic.
He's taking a lot of heat, and he's an easy target.
Yes, he is.
He's rich.
Yes, he is.
And the team hasn't been doing too well, so he's out, and a lot of people want to blame him for the woes of the team. So he's an easy target, and that's another thing that Native Americans do is that we like to protect the people who are being unjustly attacked and everything. Like there was a lot of Native Americans who took slaves that had escaped. Through the Underground Railroad, a lot of the slaves took refuge in Native American tribes along the eastern seaboard. The Piscataway people, the Nanticoke people. I mean, these are the people that I grew up with.
That's right,
and the Shinnecock. They're all. That's up this way. I think I heard you say earlier that there were not a lot of Native Americans up this way. Well, there's a reservation right there on Long Island called the Shinnecock Nation. There's a lot up here in Connecticut as well. The Wampanoag, the Mohegans. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot more than you think. I was just at a powwow this past weekend. The Red Hawk Native American Arts Council puts on a powwow 3 to 4 times a year, starting in June. And
cool.
So they'll have another one in July.
We have a lot of towns up here that's named after Native Americans. We have rivers up here that's named after Native American that Native Americans named and everything else. Like this area was heavily populated with Native Americans at one point in time. Like we got a river out here, the Snake River, that runs straight through.
It was all Native Americans up this way at one point.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
another question I have to ask of the Native Americans that believe that it is racist. Okay, one of the issues comes back to a lot of those that do. It's because something about being on the reservation. Someone was trying to explain it to me, and what I'm trying to understand is a real Native American consists of just the Native American. It doesn't consist of the reservations because a real Native American, we never had reservations before time even came.
Right.
So again, these, I really want to see if we can get a conference thing on learning the true history and, letting these natives understand their true history. Again, because I'm majorly into studying before I even talk. I'm not going to talk unless I know what I'm talking about. And, which I wish the NFL, whatever those people were doing, they need to know what they're talking about before they even attempt to start. And, but it's just, I'm just so baffled in it because at an older age, I learned about my heritage. At an older age, the Redskins Nation on Facebook taught me a lot about my heritage and the true meaning of Mother Earth and, Father Sky and the whole, and it was actually who I already was.
Right, yeah.
It's baffling. I'm sorry I went off the deep end there.
No, it's okay. That's what the show's for. It's perfectly fine. I got to ask you guys. I said I was going to ask you guys. Like, if you heard the beginning of the show, you heard me go on a little tirade about Andrew Jackson. What is your feelings about Andrew Jackson? Because I've heard some deep emotional feelings from Native Americans about him.
Man, I'll take the $20 bill if you don't want it.
I hear you, man. I don't worry about stuff like that.
Yeah, it's I mean, history is history, and history is history for a reason. I don't like the policies of this country, but I served 11 years in the military for this country, and not because of what George Washington did or Andrew Jackson did or even Abraham Lincoln did. Abraham Lincoln was responsible for the largest mass execution of anybody in the country. He hung 38 Native Americans in public for an uprising that that happened that stemmed over some they were confined and they couldn't get food and of course you have people who are hungry and they need to feed their families where they're gonna fight back. Well, anyway, not to go off on that tangent, but I'm saying we have to understand, we have to know where we're coming from. We have to know where we've been as a society to kind of grow into what we can be in the future. But we should always have our eyes on the future. We should always think about where we're going and less about where we come from, because we can't bring back those 38, and there was 2 more the next day. So it's called 38 plus 2. You can look it up, the Dakota 38 plus 2. That's a really sad story, but it's very informative. It's the history of this country, and people should know that history. But not to enrage people, not to get them angry and to hate white people. That's not why I mention these things. That's not why I tell people these things. You can know people don't like being lied to. You can't really grow if you're being manipulated. So, but if you know where you come from, you know what the history of your country is, the true history, then I believe that we can then begin to heal as a nation, and then we can do that medicine wheel. We can be that unified country that we should be. You figure after how many years has it been? Over 200 years that this country has been in existence, and we are just as divided, if not more, today as we've ever been on anything. The Native Americans are fighting the Native Americans. The blacks are fighting the blacks. If your skin is light, then you think you're better than the dark-skinned blacks. If you live on a reservation, then you think you're better than the people who don't live on the reservation. It's ridiculous. Republicans versus Democrats. There's always there's always a battle going on. The one thing, I was over down at the Redskins Park a couple of weeks ago. And I got to meet with Bruce Allen and a couple of the managers over there. It was an awesome, awesome, awesome experience, because one thing that I wanted to do with that meeting, when we went down there to talk about a book that a friend of mine approached me. He kind of found me the same way you did, although on WashingtonPost.com. He saw something that I posted, and he wanted to quote me in a book that he was writing about the history of the Redskins name. He thought that it was he's actually a Seahawks fan, mind you, but he decided that he wanted to, right some injustices here, because he felt that, it's not a good thing. His name is Andre, and he's a retired commander from the U.S. Coast Guard. It was a photojournalist for, 20, 30 years or whatever, and very good at writing and everything like that. So he said he wanted to put together this book about the Redskins name. And he consulted me on it, and he liked some of the things that I had to, the input that I had for it. So we decided, hey, let's do this. Well, anyway, we wind up at Redskins Park talking to Bruce Allen and Carl Schreiber and Gary Edwards, the of the Original Americans Foundation, and it was a good meeting. I think before I went there, I was a solid, hail to the Redskins, Redskins fan. But then when I left out of there, you're talking about somebody being proud of the team that to me now the Redskins, it's more, it's always been more than just a team, but, to understand the principles behind what the Redskins, the organization itself stands for, and seeing how it mirrors what I've been taught as a Native American, what our Native American principles are. Number one, that there's no selfishness there. Okay? There's no selfishness there. It's about the team, right? They have a 10 Commandments that they and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. But I put up a picture on Facebook where Bruce Allen was explaining this to us, and generally what it was about was the coaches, the players, and team, and then it goes team, and then it goes into and coaches, players, fans, team. Everybody's unified. Then it goes into the give back institute for the community, the education programs to reach out to, high school dropouts. I mean, he was telling me how it was difficult to get all these high school dropouts into one room so they can, help them further their education, get their GEDs and things like that. The reading programs. I mean, half of the meetings, the reason why they were interested in hearing about this book was because it was about education. They're very interested in giving back to the community and making sure they leave the world a better place than what they found it. And that is the epitome of what Native Americans were about, or are about, I should say. We believe in the community. When you talked about the Pilgrims, where the Native American Wampanoag tribe watched the Pilgrims for nearly a year, watched them die and everything like that, because they were afraid to mess with them, because they had already suffered a plague that was brought on by some outsiders and things like that. But against everything, against their fears, against what they believed was probably a bad idea, they went and helped them anyway. Why? Because they were also children of Mother Earth. That was their duty as human beings, to do the human thing and forget about the diseases that they brought over here and everything like that. Put their lives at risk and things. They taught them. They didn't give to them. They didn't make them dependent on them. They taught them how to survive on their own. And so that is what Native Americans are about. Squanto was a slave at one point that had been abducted from this country, brought back over to Europe, and then was aided by monks and clergy or whatever to get back over here. He could have easily said, "Look, guys, they had me enslaved, kill them all." No, he facilitated the translation and it facilitated that relationship that helped the Pilgrims basically get a foothold here in the Americas, because they wanted to show what they had to. It's a duty. Yeah. It's a way of life that we have to be inclusive. We have to be unified. We have to be a community. That's exactly what the Redskins showed me.
And look at the code talkers. They did the exact same thing. They didn't have to go in and serve for the country, but they did it because that's the way we're brought up. And even if you're not brought up that way, it's in your inner self to reach out and help those that are hurting. That's why I so much want to know more about the Washington. I keep saying it wrong. Washington Redskins Original
American Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to work with addicts and so forth, because that's where I was at. I want to give back what I learned. And that's just the Native American within inside me. Even though I wasn't brought up on the res or with a Native American family, that is me. And that's just what they are about. Carlos Schreiber, you've got a question, all you got to do is call him, and he's going to talk to you. One night I was just overthrown about what was going on with the Redskin name, how they were talking about it. I think he sat on the phone with me for like an hour and a half, just listening to me vent. They are there as a family. They are there for their fans. They don't have to be. They're fans that are giving the Redskins money, but they are a true family. And when I heard Mark talk about it, when I spoke to him after he went, my hair just stood up on my arms as he spoke about it, because they are nothing but true Redskin life.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and
I can't think of a more fitting name.
Jumped on.
I can't think of a more fitting name for the name of a team that chose us. Okay, a lot of people think that the team, or a lot of people say that the football team represents Native Americans. That's not exactly what they stand for. There, they chose a Native American to represent the team, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we also have to go in, if we want to talk about histories and things like this, you know, I was talking to Janine the other night about some of the things that she posted up, and I was looking in, you know, reading up about Walter Wetzel, who is responsible for designing and actually implementing that, or getting the team to put an Indian head back on the helmet and back on the uniform of Washington Redskins. Because remember, at one point there was just an R with a circle around it.
That was in like the late
to
60s.
The team.
That was like the late 60s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to the team and said, you know, I think you guys need to have an Indian on the side of your helmet. I mean, this is a very prominent figure in the Native American community.
Walter Wetzel. Amen.
Yeah.
And he could have been tossed out, but he did it anyway. He believed in it. It was in his heart. It was in his blood, and he believed in it. A full-blooded Native American. No, I mean, be for real. Where are these people coming from?
And it's funny. The irony in what you're saying is the name of the website that's actually attacking us over the name is called ChangeTheMascot.org, and the mascot was actually created by Native Americans. So it's crazy.
Yeah, be for real. Come on. I mean, they need to start studying. Just because they're Native American, just because they were put on a reservation, doesn't mean that we can't be intelligent and know about our past. Don't listen to people that are going to sidetrack us and take us in the wrong direction. And that's what has happened. The unity is no longer there within the nations. We're called First Nation. We're not called, we're not called Native American originally. We were called First Nation, and that meant we were all one. Come on, Indians, come back to the nation and be one. Be unity. Stop this nonsense.
And that's an interesting point that Janine brings up, because if you think about the Redskins, what the name really means and things, forget about forget about it meaning human being, forget about that it was from a particular tribe's language that was translated from French and then into English. Forget about all that. What did it do? What did Redskin do? Redskin created a single word by the people to represent the people of this country. That was, the people of this nation that was the First Nation people. The settlers came over here. They thought they were in India, so they called us Indians, right? Well, Native Americans had no, we had no concept of what India was or anything. So we thought that they meant that we were just, okay, they're calling us people. Okay, well, you say Indian, we say Redskin, So, we were just people.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, that name, whether it was by divine design or what, that name ended up unifying every tribe. Like I said, there's probably 1,500 tribes or so here in this country, on these lands, from East Coast to West Coast, and there was, you had the Dene, you had the Inde, the Wampanoag, the Shinnecock. You had all these various tribes and everything like that, but there was no single term that we refer to as ourselves, as a collective, as a unified group of people, until we have Redskins. And in all the official documents, with the, dealings with the King of England or whatever, dealings with the President of the United States, just official documentation, we use Redskins to identify ourselves. We're not Indians. We're not from India, right?
Amen.
So what more fitting name is it than a name that was created by our people for our people?
Right.
And I say, and this is the way I feel, and I know I've told everybody that I've probably talked to on the Facebook group that we have, if it was good enough for my ancestors to be Redskins, then it's good enough for me. That's the way I feel.
Amen.
Those
and it should be changed. It should not be changed. That's deleting our history. If it's changed, it's deleting our history. Mark just said it in a whole. He just explained it to you right from First Nation on up. And you change the Redskin name, you are changing our history. You are deleting the Native Americans off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and it's doing more harm than good.
What else? Well, what else do the Redskins really have to represent them? Not much.
Yeah,
but the Redskins,
we are one of the most underrepresented ethnicities in the United States. I mean,